Welcome to Southern Orthopedic PrepZone Game Time, driven by Carl Cannon.
Hey everybody, welcome in. James Phillips, Johnathan Bentley, Brian Hale. It is the DME PrepZone Game Time here for Week 5. And guys, this week our Game of the Week, I almost said Player of the Week. Everything's going to have to do with Dora, though. But our Game of the Week is going to be Dora hosting Oneonta. Check out this new helmet that the Bulldogs, I think they unveiled it last week.
It's sweet. It is sweet.
I know Johnathan made mention of this. You like this Bulldog much better than any Bulldog they've ever had.
Yeah, because it's always the run-of-the-mill Bulldog.
Right.
I mean, Carbon Hill's kind of like that, too.
Yeah.
So this is different. They got their own.
He looks vicious, too.
Yeah, he's mad.
Like he's ready to take a chunk out of. What's Oneonta's mascots? They used to be the Indians. Are they
Redskins?
Redskins.
I guess they still are.
Oh, my goodness. They need to change that, right? Well, for the rest of this show, we'll call them Oneonta football team.
Okay.
How about that?
How about just call him Oneonta?
Well, we could do that, too. But I would think with a name like Oneonta, it probably has some sort of Native American tradition rolled in there.
I always called it Oneonta. I didn't know any better.
Well,
when I was in school.
I just thought it was French.
Well, all right, we talk about Dora's logo. Dora's got a lot of good things going on. They're 3-0 right now. Really hadn't played a super difficult schedule up to this point. But having Oneonta come in, that's going to be a first real test, I think, for the Bulldogs.
You realize it's their 4th home game.
Right,
They have not been on the road yet because of that Holt game being moved home.
Yeah.
But that's big to have a game like this at home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the big thing that Dora's done the last couple of weeks, we talked about it last week, is that they've had some players show a lot of unselfishness.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you were able to go to Dora and talk to a few of those players that they've moved from skill position to the line without anybody really even asking them to do that. They just volunteered. What does that show you about these players and the way this team's built?
Well, I think Coach Lockhart, we'll hear from him when he talked about these guys, but it's the epitome of teamwork. It's the epitome of selflessness. Look, these guys have struggled the past couple of years. They want to step in and they want to make this year successful. And you certainly can't do that if you're just sitting back when the team's in need. They've put themselves out there. They volunteered. They did both play together offensive line previously back in middle school. So this is not something that's completely unfamiliar for them, and they felt comfortable in doing it.
Johnathan, what did you think hearing these guys going from a more glamour position to in the trenches?
That kind of shows you how Dora's built, you know. I mean, this is a workman-type team, and I guess they must have really needed it.
Right.
And here we are. I remember before the season started, we said we need Dora. It's always better when Dora's good.
Right.
And I'm glad to see they're doing that. And these kids are taking this to heart, apparently.
Well, and we talked about them needing it. Coach Lockhart mentioned that they had lost, I think, 2 or 3 different people on the offensive line, and one kid goes from tight end to center. I mean, that's pretty unheard of. And then you got another kid fullback to guard. Probably not a whole lot of difference, but still.
Right.
So Brian was able to catch up with a couple of the players and talk to Coach Lockhart about those moves. Let's go and see that interview now.
Heading into last week's region contest against Hanceville, the Bulldogs were missing several players from their offensive line, an area coaching staff depends on to be the foundation of a successful program. With the concerns mounting on the line's depth chart, Dora head coach Bart Lockhart was in need of leaders to stand up and be an example of teamwork. Fortunately for Lockhart and his coaching staff, the leaders he needed, Ronald Walter and Zach Watson, stepped forward and volunteered to serve as offensive linemen. For Waltrip and Watson, the transition to offensive line was not only familiar, but an easy one as well.
I feel like we did okay. We got the job done and executed what we needed to execute on Friday.
I feel the same. I feel like we did pretty good stepping in, and we just did whatever it took for our team to get the W.
Waldrop earned Player of the Week honors for not only moving from tight end to center, but for his commanding defensive performance of 10 tackles, including 5 tackles for a loss, 4 quarterback sacks, a forced fumble, and a pass deflection. Lockhart praised both players for their leadership, stating it was an example of how his team behaves as a family.
That's what you want. Those guys are winners. This group, my goal as a coach for this organization is to be technically sound and relationally elite. And this group, when they say they're a family, they mean it. I mean, they sweat together, they cry together, they laugh together, they love each other. And a lot of teams say it, and a lot of teams I've coached in the past have said it. This team is a true tight-knit family, and they'll do whatever it takes for the next guy for us to have success. And when you get that, if we can keep moving in the right direction, and the thing that we're talking about this week is getting rid of distractions, because this group has never had success. So we got to do a good job of handling it. We can't get distracted by things like this, and this is great and wonderful, but we can't focus on this and not focus on Oneonta and ourselves. And so, you know, if we can do that, I think this group's got a chance to be special.
Welcome in, everybody. James Phillips here. It's a late night at the Desert Mountain Eagle studio. Brian Hale, how's it going, man?
And comes out with a 1-point double overtime win, 35-34. The Vikings remain undefeated.
One of the assistants told me I think they're 5 points away from being 4-1.
Corner just completely turned road, and they came out in the second half. They scored 20 points on 5 plays.
Cordova makes the playoffs. Who would have thought in week 5 that we would have said the Cordova Blue Devils are going to reel off 4 straight wins and clinch a playoff berth?
Well, I just think the first half was really Harmon Hill got after. I mean, they were playing with a little bit more effort and toughness, and
just glad to catch it. Good, it was a good throw. Won the game.
Hey, Jaden, since I'm mic'd up, I probably don't need to talk about that time this old man outrun D in the facility doing. I probably need, I'm not going to talk. I won't talk about that. That time me and D got in a race. Oh, you're out. Me and D raced. I outran him. D, I didn't ask for any excuses.
I won. Did we run after? No,
huh?
Didn't run after.
There's winners, there's learners, and there's excuse makers. And right now you're being an excuse maker.
You need to learn something.
Hey, let's go ahead and be huddled up. Go ahead and get the scout ready. We'll be like them. Right here, ball on the 20 left hash. As soon as Kalijah's ready, we're rolling. He's not going to be angled in and shooting right. He's going to be in a 5 technique, and he's going to be play technique, okay? He's going to read that block. So when he reads that reach block, when he reads that reach block, he's going to try to widen. And I want to chip through to help the tackle cover and then go. Hey, Pruitt, nice job right there. Stay on that inside. Did you see that, Cole? Good. It'll work on your mentality right here. You got it? Stop on the whistle. You got it? What happened?
Good job, Coach.
Come on, let's go. Run again. Run again. Run again. Stanley, go. Stanley, go. Hey, Boone, that's all you got to have. Hey, if he's flying upfield like that, just get a hand on him. All right? What happened? Hey, Coach Cordell, what happened there?
We're getting soft.
Let's go. Finish, guys. I'm waiting. This. All right.
Want to hold him.
All right. We keep your hands inside and block him.
You can't be holding.
Condition now, condition later. Here we go. Through me, right? Earn your hydrate period. Going back. Ready.
All right, welcome back in. You just heard from 2 of the Dora players that switched positions last week. One of those guys, Ronald Walter, was our player of the week this week. Brian, he had a tremendous game, not just on the offensive line, but also on defense, had 10 tackles and racked up a lot of stats. What did you think about being able to catch up with him?
Well, I mean, it pretty much says it. When you have 10 tackles, you have 5 for a loss, you have 4 quarterback sacks, you force a fumble and a pass deflection. My goodness, that's just some career stats that even some pro players don't even see in their lifetime. And he was able to encompass that all in one night and provide for the team on offense by switching over to center. Wow, what more could you say?
Well, this is the first time that our game of the week has actually happened and our player of the week at the same place. We didn't plan that, but it all just kind of worked out. And his story and what he did last week was such a good performance that we had to go with him. So let's go now and listen to Brian as he caught up with Ronald Walter.
Ladies and gentlemen, the WJLX DME PrepZone Player of the Week, Dora's Ronald Walter. Ronald, congratulations.
Thank you.
Just talking a moment about your performance, obviously Hanceville has athletes that can definitely make plays. Performance like that as a defense, obviously you guys wanted to heed the challenge and make sure that they were disrupted.
How do you guys feel about walking away with such a solid victory?
We love to feel like that every week. I feel like we played this year. We just played really well as a team on defense, and just feel good.
All those amazing statistics. I mean, 4 quarterback sacks, 5 tackles for a loss. You forced a fumble. Career-wise, how does that rank up there? Have you ever had a game in any point of your career, middle school, Pop 1, or anything that you've had stats like that?
No.
So this was a big night for you.
Yeah.
What was the coaches like? What was your position coach? What did he say when all this went down after the game?
He's just excited, just like everybody else was.
Well, fabulous. Ronald, congratulations.
Thank you.
We look forward and wish you best of luck against Oneonta, another big region game. So congratulations. We'll be back in just a moment.
Southern Orthopedic PrepZone Game Time, driven by Carl Cannon. Presented by Kilgore Green Funeral Home. Nelson, Bryan and Cross. Bank of Walker County. Jasper Main Street. Southern Orthopedic. And Carl Cannon.
All right, we're back. James Phillips, Johnathan Bentley, Brian Hale. Guys, Johnathan, let's talk to you for a second. One guy that you've been around here, you've been around Walker County for quite a while now, covering football games. One guy that's been around much longer than you is Dora's volunteer assistant coach, Bart Maddox. And he was even there. He was there when I was a student at Dora back in the late 90s, early 90s, or I guess that was mid-90s is what you'd call it. But he's been there for over 30 years. And doesn't get a lot of credit, but we've talked about how he's somebody we've seen on the sidelines forever, but you probably don't know his story.
Right. I didn't know, like you said, I've seen him. I mean, I could pick him out of the line. Here he is, but I didn't know he had such an interesting story. That's the thing about people. Sometimes you don't know.
Right.
And you find out, you're like, wow, this is really interesting,
Right.
But for him to be a volunteer that long shows how much he cares about Dora.
Right. Well, and even me being a graduate of Dora and being around there for a long time, I've known Coach Maddox forever, but I didn't know some of his backstory. I just knew that he'd been there forever and didn't get a whole lot of credit for it. And I thought, well, this would be an interesting story to find out why do you want to be there and be around these kids, that are not your kids. You're taking time out of your day to help others, and so I thought that'd be a good spotlight. Brian, what did you take from being able to listen to a little bit of that interview with Coach Maddox?
It was an absolutely incredible story. I hope everybody is as taken. I think there will be as taken with this interview as I was. Just sitting back and listening to it, you can just tell how much he loves the kids, how much he loves the community. I mean, it's apparent just how much influence he's had over the years and how much good he's done.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys this interview with Coach Maddox and gets to see his heart for not only the kids at Dora, but also the community of Dora.
My wife is a 1975 graduate of Dora. She was in the band. And I went to Leeds High School, graduated in 1977. I was a much better baseball player than I was a football player, but I loved the game of football. Any sport and anything that an athlete or a majorette or cheerleader or band member, anything that these kids can do after school and to make them special, to keep their minds occupied and their time occupied, I'm a big fan of. So we really appreciate all the other activities that go on around here with the band and cheerleaders and Diamond Girls and all that kind of stuff is great. But I love football. It's just in my blood. It's in my heart. And the life lessons that it can teach and the experiences that young men can learn from participating in high school athletics, baseball, basketball, whatever. The discipline, the requirements to be at a place at a certain time, just like hey, when I'm 22 years old, I got to get up and I got to go to work. You know, it just embeds that in you at a young age, and that creates good young men. And so that's what I like about athletics. And so we were coming to the ball games, and in '85, Dora had an outstanding team. They just had a great football team, but they had absolutely no kicking game. They couldn't kick an extra point. And so I had watched 5 games, and it just got in my craw, and I went down and talked to Coach Filippo, and I said, Coach Filippo, I think I can help you with your kicking game. And he said, when can you be here? I said, well, what about Monday? And he said, all right, we'll start Monday. You're going to work with my punters, my kickers. And so halfway through the '85 season, I got to start with Coach Filippo. First kid I ever coached was Mike Little. And he became a pretty decent kicker, not because of me, but because he was willing to listen, he was willing to learn. And he did the drills we asked him to do, and he got better and better and better, and we actually wound up kicking a field goal, I think, that year. So,
and you've been a volunteer coach this whole time.
The whole time, yeah.
What did you do for a living?
I am a structural iron worker by trade. I'm a member of the Iron Workers Local 92 in Birmingham. I worked on my, graduated high school in '77, graduated the Ironworker Apprenticeship School in '81. And so I worked on my tools for 16 years. Spent the last 15 years being a foreman, general foreman, superintendent, project manager. And then some of the guys said, hey, you know, we need somebody on the business side of this thing to maybe increase some more work hours and stuff, go after some more work. We want you to run for business manager. So in 2010, I ran for business manager, and I've been reelected 3 times there. I try to work just as hard at my job as I do here, and I try to work just as hard here as I do at my job.
Now, do you have any kids of your own?
I have no children. And
so what's made you want to volunteer for 30-something years now with everybody else's children when you've worked a hard job all day long and then you're at football practice all the time too?
Yeah, well, my wife and I lost a child. I always wanted to be a dad. I basically thought I'd be a pretty good dad, but wasn't in the cards for us. It didn't work out. And I felt like through this game that I could associate with the young kids, and they've kept me young. I'm 62 years old, and I still try to run routes with them and, you know, just act like a kid myself. And so that helps keep me young. It's just a little story about that is we were in church one Sunday on Father's Day, and of course the pastor asked everybody to stand up, you know, that was a dad, and I was sitting down. And these 3 guys walked down and tapped me on the shoulder. Said, you need to stand up. Said, you've been as much a dad to me as I've ever had. And meant the world to me. And so that's what it's about, you know. And when they come up to you 10, 20 years later, you know, hey, Coach, I remember this and I remember that. And, it's like having your own kids.
Now, what's a favorite memory? You got a favorite memory or favorite game or anything from your time at Dora?
That's one bad thing about me is I kind of live in the moment because what's done is done. And when it's over, it's over. Maybe I'd have been a good quarterback that's throwing a bunch of picks because I'd forgot about them. But no, there are some special memories. I can remember we were down here on this end zone on the scoreboard side on the 2-yard line, and we threw an out pattern the left side of the field and got picked off a yard deep in the end zone. And the kid that was a receiver on this side came across the field and knocked the guy out of bounds on the 2-yard line. And we held them, and they did not score. And the guts, I mean, when he knocked him out of bounds, we had to go pick him up. He was puking. He was cramping. He laid everything. Laid it all on the line right there. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to get this way. But that's what it means to me. You know, this is just it's a great sport. What it does for the kids and what it does for me.
Yeah.
To know that there's still young men like that in America.
Yeah.
That are willing to lay it all out there.
Well,
It
and I
means a
mean,
lot.
it's not just you guys as coaches and players. That's why we do it, you know, because it means that much to us to be able to do that and come out and tell these kind of stories and stuff. You probably don't want to tell who's the best athlete you've ever coached. You want to single somebody out, or a few of them maybe.
They are numerous athletes, and some that weren't particularly stars. We had a young kid here named Sean Presley. Sean was a practice kid. He would do whatever it took in practice. You could knock him down 15 times and he would get up every time the kid got up. And he gave it everything he had in practice. And every chance we got to get him in the game, we would, you know, special teams and stuff. But to take a beating as long as he took a beating and to keep getting up and just keep getting up and keep getting up has always stuck in my craw. And then for him to have the life turns that he's had in his life, but to know that he's still getting up.
Yeah.
You know, he's not laid down and he's not quit. And I felt like that a part of that was because he kept getting up out here.
Right.
And we've had some guys here go D1 with scholarships, and we've had some guys here go D1 walk-on that have made it and actually played at Auburn and Alabama. Adam Russell, Lahidi Grant, Rod Spigner is another great story. His life and what he's been through with the losses that he's incurred in his life, but then the way he's overcome those things. But was a great football player too, would knock your dead-gum helmet off.
Right.
And little Randy Mullins made just outstanding play after outstanding play in key situations. Ramsey, and the fingers missing.
Andre.
Andre.
Yeah.
Andre Ramsey is an outstanding young man, and just this community has a lot to be proud of. With the athletes that have come through here and have gone on to join the military, you know, to serve in the military. Abdul Harris, I think, was one in the military. We've had a couple of others go on and do well in the military, and just be outstanding leaders in the community and stuff. Really proud. Roger Cordell was walking off the field, taking his stuff off and quitting. I've had it, and we were able to sit down and talk, and now he's. I think he's a Boilermaker by trade, making a good living and working hard every day. And there's way too many, you know, to mention. I can't recall a bad kid.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably some, but you know, just so many outstanding young men that whether or not they went on to be athletic stars in their life, they've become great young men.
Well, talk a little bit about this year's team. What do you do as far as what are you coaching, and then just how's this team kind of made an impression on you so far?
Well, we've kind of come full circle. I started out with special teams with Coach Filippo, and this year Coach has kind of asked me to work again with the kickers and punters and place kickers and stuff, and help put the return team together and the kickoff team together and those kind of things. And so I've kind of gotten back to my roots with coaching. I'm working with the kickers again this year. This team reminds me a good bit of the '85 team. It reminds me of some of the Coach Coleman teams. It reminds me of some of the Joey Jones teams. This is a special group, though. And I had a chance to talk to them after the game Friday night. With everything that had happened last week and the changes that were made and the selfless sacrifices that were made really struck a chord with me. And this team has got a bond and a unity and a togetherness that I've not seen in a number of years. And when Coach first came, and one of his first interviews he did, he talked about changing the belief. And I believe that's what he's done. When a kid will volunteer to go change a jersey and go to a different position, he's believing in something. And he's believing in what the coaches are putting out and what they're putting down. And so I think he has, I think he's changed the culture, and I think he's changed the beliefs of these kids and their attitudes. It's a rare and unique thing.
Anything else you just want to say about the community of Dora? And because you're not one of theirs, right? But
no, I'm not.
Welcomed you in for sure.
They have welcomed me with open arms, all the way back to the principal, John Crump was here when I got here, the quarterback club, and all the coaching staffs. They have made me feel extremely welcome, and have just opened their arms, and said, "Hey, man, you're one of us now," and it's a great feeling, to know you've got a hometown, but then to know you've got a hometown.
Right.
And I'm extremely comfortable. Have been for years. Since I moved out here in '85 is when I moved out here. I got married in '88, and it's a great community. And these kids, they come from all over. They come from Yorkwood, they come from Empire, they come from Sipsey, they come from Summerton, they come from Dora, and to have that kind of a knit, to all come together under one umbrella, the Dora Bulldogs, and to be able to stand together, fight together, sweat together, bleed together, as a team and as a unit, and it's a special community.
Yeah.
This whole area, I don't want to say just Dora, but we are Dora Bulldogs and Dora High School, but this whole community is rich in history, rich in tradition, and rich in love.
Yeah.
And it's a great place.
Well, just as a former Dora Bulldog and alumnus, I've been on the sidelines with you for 25 years now, and I just appreciate everything you've always done for these kids and for the community. We don't get to tell you thank you, so thank you from me and the whole community for sure.
Good deal. I would like to thank my wife. She is very understanding of my commitment here, and she encourages my commitment here. And a lot of times on Friday nights, I'm getting home 2:30, 3 o'clock, and she's curled up in bed, and I'll try to sneak in and not wake her up, but then she'll ask me about it the next day, well, how'd it go, and all that kind of stuff. So she's real supportive, and that means a lot. Makes it easier for sure,
Oh, yeah. She's just tired of being around you. She just wants you to have something to say.
Aren't you going to practice?
Tell me a little bit about Coach Maddox and what he kind of means to the program.
Coach Maddox is a special, special human being, and we are so thankful that he's here with us. He is, I could tell you stories on top of stories that range from tearjerkers to comedies. He's just, he has been a constant here in a lot of change and a lot of things. Like I said, from '85 to now, he's been the constant here in the Dora football program. And he loves these kids. That's the number one factor. And when I first took the job, I had no clue who he was. But a good friend of mine, Adam Russell, called me and he said, Coach Maddox has been here for a long time and he's thinking about getting out of coaching. You need to call him, reach out to him. And I am so glad that I did. The first time we met and I was trying to talk him into staying out and continue coaching, he didn't like the fact that we coach football on computers.
Right.
And so he said, I've never coached football on computers. Well, 4 years later, he's got a Huddle account. He knows how to work it, and he can send me messages on there. And so he's bought into how we do things, and he is, no matter what the task is, I said this earlier to you, he doesn't disappoint. From big to small, to talking to the team pregame or postgame, to dealing with a young man on an individual basis, he don't disappoint, and we're very thankful to have him. he does a lot of different things. He speaks. He is a motivator, but he's also, if a young man is, if I can't reach him, or if another coach can't reach him, the great thing about I don't do much good, but there's two things I'm really proud of. I picked a great wife, and I've put together a really good coaching staff, and they're filled of a bunch of different personalities, and I feel like that different players gravitate to different personalities, and so there's certain kids that Coach Maddox is their guy.
Right.
He's their go-to, and he's the one that they really mesh with. And I've seen kids, their lives turn and change because Coach Maddox has been mentoring them, giving them rides home, doing things outside of just coaching football. But the first Cordova game, when I first got to Dora, the first Cordova game, I had never been in a situation where pregame I didn't have what I was going to talk about planned out, everything planned out. I just didn't feel like what I had was good enough. And I had always been, I'm going to talk to the team right before we go out, nobody else. I want to be the one bringing that message. And the Cordova game, I didn't have anything to say. And a friend of mine sent me a text, and it just kind of sparked something with me. And so I walked over to Coach Maddox, and I kind of pulled his collar. He looked at me, and I said, "I'm taking you off the leash tonight, Coach. I'm going to let you talk to the team pregame." And he had those boys so fired up coming out of there. And I think we were up like 28-0 at the end of the first quarter, and we ended up winning like 48-6 or something like that. And those kids, he had everybody in there fired up and ready to go play football. And so he just, whatever we've asked him to do, like I said, he don't disappoint. When I first got here, and I was kind of telling Coach Maddox when we talked him in that he was going to be with us and he was going to be, part of the program. I said, there's two things we're not going to do as coaches. We're not going to cuss, and we're not going to dip. We don't let the kids do it, and the coaches aren't going to do it. And yes, sir. And I didn't know this, but he dipped, and he said, yes, sir. Whatever you do, we'll do whatever you want to do, and it's your program. We'll do it your way. I said, well, thank you. Well, we have our first spring game inter-squad, and the winning team gets steak and the losing team gets bologna. And Coach Maddox was coaching the team with half of the staff, and some of the other coaches were coaching the other team, and we were just letting them kind of duke it out there. And at halftime, Coach Maddox's team was losing, and I walked in, and he led a small. It's a word in the Bible, so it ain't a bad one, but he led a small one as I was walking in the door to the team. And one of the players said, "Coach, you can't talk like that anymore." And so I called him in and I said, "Coach Maddox," I said, "I told you, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a better vocabulary than that. We're going to, we're going to hold ourselves to the same standard that a math teacher is going to be held because we're educators, and we're not going to use that kind of language." And he said, "Yes, sir, Coach, I'm sorry." He said, "What do they have to do if they say a cuss word?" I said, 25 up downs. And I walked off to go tell the referee the second half was going on. And the referee, he said, "Bart, what is going on over there?" And I turned around and looked, and Coach Maddox has got grass stain on both knees of his khakis, and he's down there doing up downs. And so I jog over to him to tell him, "Coach, stop." And he gets up, and he kind of walks to me, and he said, before I could say anything, he said, "Coach, I still owe you 6. I think I pulled my calf." So 4 years later, he still owes me 6, and I hold that over his head. But no, he's he buys into how we do things, and he does a great job.
All right, welcome back in. James Phillips again, Johnathan Bentley, Brian Hale. Guys, that was pretty emotional. The most emotional interview we've had on this show this season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But what a great story.
Right, definitely. You learned a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it shows this is what we get sometimes. A guy that just loves the school, loves the kids mainly.
Right.
And always has. I mean, it's basically his family.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to go into the picks now. This is the important time, right? Everybody wants to know what we think about the games coming up. First game, Hubbardsville 1-2 at Meek 0-4. Johnathan, you start us off.
Hubbardsville.
Hub.
I'll go Hub too. So we're pretty easy on that one. And Hubbardsville's not the greatest team in the world, but Meek's. We've said it the last several weeks. They've got to get over that hump. They got to get a win. Maybe this is that week.
Yeah, it's like prove it to me.
Yeah, but
there's several teams like that on there.
Yeah, we're going to say that a few times. All right, here's one. We're just going to go all in on this one. I know Lynn has got a great history and tradition, but they're playing at Pickens County, which is an incredible team year in and year out. I'm going Pickens County. Everybody all
PC.
In? Okay, all right, we got that one. this is probably another situation like that. Corner 1-2 is traveling to Alexandria 3-0. Alexandria is one of the toughest places in the state to play.
Always.
They always win at home. I'm guessing we're all going Alexandria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Alexandria. We got through that one quick. Here's another one. Addison 2-2, but man, they have played a schedule to be 2-2. At Winston County 2-1, it's a county rivalry. I even had a family member of mine a few minutes ago. I hate to say that it was Stone. I figured it'd be somebody that didn't know anything about football. He picked Winston County to win. I'm sorry, I'm going Addison.
Yeah, it would take a lot of things to go Winston County's way to win that game. I mean, it's a rivalry game. Crazy things happen, but yeah, Addison's just, I think they're a really contender this year.
I've actually seen some crazy stuff at Addison-Winston County games. Like several years ago, Russell Moore and I was covering the game, radio station and the newspaper, and it came down to just the last second, a trick play.
Well, 7-0.
A 7-0 game. It had been 0-0 the entire game, and Winston County wins it on a trick play.
That was a really good Winston County team.
It was a really good Winston County team. So, but that's why I don't think we're quite there yet in Double Springs. What do you think, Brian?
Well, guys, let me just ask you this. What would happen if Winston County went down to Aliceville and played them? What do you guys think the score would be?
I'm with you.
Okay. I don't think Addison's going to have a whole lot of problems.
Right. Even on the road.
I mean, how far is it on the road?
That's true. It's not a
7
far
miles?
trip. Now, here we're talking about road trips. Man, Summit's in Christian. Have they played anywhere in the state of Alabama? I mean, it's like they've been 2 hours away every time they go somewhere. They're going to Woodville. I can't even tell you where Woodville's at. But Sumter Christian's 1-2. Woodville's 1-3.
I think that's either Jackson or Madison County. I mean, it's
way
this is a region game.
Yeah.
They've had one home game so far this year.
In 1A, those regions are really stretched sometimes. And theirs definitely, they've had to go all over the place.
They go to Cedar Bluff, which is on the Georgia state line.
Right.
Then they bounce.
Cherokee.
Now they're on the Tennessee state line.
Right. Well, who are you picking?
Sumner Christian.
Yeah, me too. I mean, at this point, guys, they're used to be on the road.
Right.
I mean, it's they're the complete opposite of Dora. All they've done is sing the road.
Well, and the way they played last week against Cedar Bluff, that's a good program.
Yeah.
And on the road against them and really fall short by 2 and probably should have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Sumter Christian too. Here's one, Jasper 1-2 at Gardendale 2-2. Jasper lost last time. They had a week off. They lost 2 weeks ago to Clay Chalkville. Gardendale, another one of those teams that's ranked in the top 10 in the state. This is a tough region. I got to go Gardendale, but I think Jasper will hang with them for a half or so, maybe even a little longer.
I can see that.
But I think Gardendale pulls it out.
They hung with Clay for a quarter.
Right.
And Gardendale's not as good. Maybe they can get to the half.
Right.
It'd take a lot of things to go their way, kind of like Winston County.
Well, in a few of these games, Jasper's just going to, you hate to say moral victories, but they're going to need to pick up some moral victories before they pick up some actual victories, I think.
I think field conditions, though, does kind of level the field a little bit in Jasper's direction. Gardendale, from what I heard, their running back has some problems with the ball fumbling.
Right.
If Jasper can attack the ball when they go into tackle, get that to pop out a couple of times and are still hanging around there in the fourth quarter, I think they're high for opportunities. I'm still picking Gardendale, but Jasper, I think, has a lot more chances to win this game versus if it was, like it was on Wednesday,
right,
where it's clear.
Right. Yeah, I think with a sloppy field, that definitely can help Jasper. And you did mention the Gardendale's running back, their starting running back, who's very good. He's quick. He puts up a lot of yards. But he's fumbled 4 times in 4 games this year. Or 4 times in 4 games.
But who was that against? Competition was better.
The competition was a little better. They played a couple of big schools, like 7A schools, I think, and then playing Clay Chalkville. So those schools kind of make you fumble sometimes. Okay, how about I think this may be our closest pick. We've got a couple coming up. They're going to be very close. Holly Pond 1-3 at Carbon Hill 1-3. I almost gave up on the Bulldogs after last week losing to Vinemont, but I'm picking Carbon Hill. I can't tell you why, but I have some confidence left. I'm taking Carbon Hill.
Yeah, last week I kind of put Carbon Hill in one of those. You're gonna have to show me something now.
Right.
Holly Pond, their one win was a forfeit win. They've been blown out. I mean, it's gonna be tricky.
Yeah.
It's at Carbon Hill. That's why I picked them.
Right.
Now you're leading the limb, and who did you pick?
I went with Carbon Hill also.
Okay. So
I'm
it.
glad that you mentioned that I'm leading Lim. That makes me feel good.
It's close.
It is close.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brian, who you got in this one?
I mean, I'm going to go Carbon Hill. It might be a couple of things. I've seen Holly Pond. I know their numbers, which they're very small in the numbers department. Might be Carbon Hills at home, whichever. But I can't say if I might pick Carbon Hill the rest of the year, but I am going this week. I'm going with Carbon Hill.
All right, here's another close one. Oakman 2-2. They've got to travel though this week again to JB Pennington, who's 3-0. Pennington has not played a very tough schedule. Nowhere near what Oakman's played, considering Oakman played Gordo and Winfield. What do you think, Jonathan, coming into this one?
I'm going Oakman just because of what you said.
Right.
Pennington hasn't played a team like Oakman yet. And Oakman's battle tested.
Right.
Yes, they've lost to Gordo and Winfield, but one of those was on the road last week. Very tough loss for Oakman, by the way.
Right.
And Pennington's beat up on Holly Pond, Valmont, somebody else. I mean, Oakman needs it. They really need this win.
Yeah, they do need this win. This would be a huge win for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm going to Oakman. Just a resume by itself. Oakman's seen the Big Bear.
Right.
Pennington hasn't. And I just don't know if Pennington's going to be able to stop all those offensive weapons that Oakman has. I mean, you're talking guys that seem to be pulling up more and more yardage every single week. It might be high scoring like it was Winfield last week, but I do see that Oakman takes the advantage simply because they've played a lot tougher competition.
Yeah, I think I did mention I think it'll be really close, and I think it will be high scoring. But Oakman last year, they after 3 or 4 games, they kind of went into a little funk. And I feel like maybe after that loss, they're going to be let down because they really felt like they should have beat Winfield. I'm going to go with JB Pennington in this one, just in the closest of margins.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
All right.
It's at Pennington.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the road, so that's the thing.
Blount County.
Thursday night game, Cordova 1-3 at Ramsey 3-0. We were talking about this game before we got on the air to film, and I was telling you guys that I think it'll be a closer game than what everybody expects because Ramsey's a good team. They're ranked, what are they, 2 or 3?
3.
And so, but I think Cordova's going to play with them. Ramsey, much like some of these other teams, have not beaten anybody. They beat, I think it was Oneonta and who's the other one?
And a forfeit.
And they had a forfeit. Yeah, so I mean, that's just, well, I'm not impressed. So I think Cordova can stay on the field with them after. Cordova really should have won that game last week.
Yeah, that's very disappointing. Kind of like Oakman, you just really needed to win that game. Now because there's so many teams like this on the schedule.
Right.
That's why you got to take advantage of these other ones. But very tough road game for Cordova here.
Yeah.
I went Ramsey.
You going Ramsey?
Yeah, I don't see it being as close as you think. I think Ramsey's probably a couple of steps behind Pleasant Grove.
Right.
So I'm seeing maybe more 31-0, maybe 31-7.
Right. Okay. Well, and I'm going with Ramsey too. I just think it'll be a little closer than those scores. Okay. Game of the week. Before we actually break that down and let's talk about it, we did have a chance to talk to head coach Bart Lockhart from Dora, and he was able to tell us some of his thoughts on Oneonta. So let's go listen to Coach Lockhart now, and then when we get back, we'll give our thoughts on that game.
It's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. But saying that, they are a really, really good team. They're quality. They're well coached. They're very disciplined. They're strong. They have a really good running back, a really good running game, and a extremely good defense. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think that offense is going to be tough to come by if we play well, because they're good enough to beat us offensively too. But if we play well, it should be a defensive battle, and the best offense of the night will have the chance to win the game. Like I said, Coach Phillips does a great job with those guys. They are extremely disciplined and extremely technical in how they do things.
Where do you think teams are kind of matching up right now, or do you want to speak to that?
I think it's too early to tell, but I think that they're one of the top dogs in our region, no doubt.
All right, you heard from Coach Lockhart. It's going to be a tough game. Oneonta is always good. They're a perennial playoff team, going way back. When was it Josh Niblett was their coach for a while, and this guy kind of took in. I think there might have been a coach in between, but this guy kind of took over right after that and has been there and really. It's a Phillips. I don't think we're related. Right. Yeah, I think his name's maybe Phil Phillips, but we are not related.
That's a terrible name.
I think that's right. Because there's a singer named Phil Phillips also.
Philip Phillips.
Philip Phillips.
Yeah. That's not very imaginative.
Well, I mean, not everybody names their kids, things like Zuzu. Some people do, some people don't. Or Breeze. Okay, it's at Dora. We've talked about that. Dora played all their games at home so far. Jonathan, tell us your thoughts. Who's going to win this one?
I picked Dora just because their games are geared, or Dora's geared to where the game's going to be close. It seems like, they got rushed for 200 yards last week and then scored a touchdown.
Right.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But, they'll rack up the yards. If they could ever get their offense clicking, there's no telling what this team could do. Now, I think this will be very close. Oneonta is 1-3, but I think you said they had 2 forfeits?
They had two
forfeit losses.
Yeah.
To start the year and played Etowah.
Right.
So we really don't know anything about it. The record is deceiving.
Right, definitely.
It's going to be very close. I see Dora winning by a couple points.
What you think, Brian?
Well, I think the one thing that we have not heralded that much is that Dora defense.
Right.
They have not given up many points. It might be a little bit more bend but not break, but you think about it, Holt scored 7 points. Hanceville, what was it? They
scored 7 points.
They scored 7 points.
Cordova
scored 6 points.
Yeah.
So they might be giving up some yardage, but they're not letting teams into the end zone. If it's going to be a close game, it's going to be a low-scoring game. But I'm still going to take Dora no matter what.
Right. Well, and I was able to watch the Hanceville game last week, and I really felt like that score should have been higher than it was. Dora shot themselves in the foot a couple times on offense, but then also on defense, they had gotten to a 3rd down and long or a couple different times and had just incredibly bad timing on a penalty. And that kept a drive alive. But they were never close to scoring. Hanceville wouldn't have scored if the starters would have stayed in the game.
Right.
You could have given them the ball in the 2, and I don't think they would have scored.
So, Hanceville is not very good.
Right.
Oneonta is.
And
it's interesting to see them play this thing.
Right. And
it's the first real test.
They can't have those kind of mistakes against a team like Oneonta.
Right.
Because if they do, that's going to bite you.
You could do that against Hanceville. Hopefully they get it corrected.
The person I was really impressed with, Dora's quarterback, Logan Fowler. He has not played until this year. He's a senior. He's kind of a short guy. I think he's only like 5'6", 5'7". But he threw the ball perfect. Had 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns against Hanceville, and really just kind of managed the game. And I think that's something that Dora's been missing the last several years is quarterback play. So I really almost went with Oneonta because I'm not totally sold on Dora at this point. They've not played their best football yet, but I think they come out this week and they play their best football and Dora wins the game.
We get another game from Waldrop like he had.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
I will say also that was the first defensive player to win Player of the Week.
Yeah,
it was.
That's how much it stood out.
That's right, and he did have such a performance. We've had a few good defensive performances this year. Mason Slaughter, the first week of the season for Jasper, was almost a Player of the Week.
Seemed like A.J. Odom had a big game.
Yeah, A.J. Odom had a big game. So
Myrick out at corner.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
Very
Always.
good.
So we want that, and that's what we keep telling you guys is always let us know who's had the big game. Sometimes we can't keep up with every stat. We usually get them all from the schools.
Mm-hmm.
But comment on the game stories, comment on our Prep Zone, comment on this video after the games and tell us, who's deserving of a Player of the Week nomination and award, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then they'll probably get visited by Brian.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We'll be out there giving out their certificates, and eventually, once everything is made up, we'll give them their plaques.
Right. And if they do something really special, we'll send Jonathan.
Boy, that'd take a huge effort.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
And y'all could both sign an autograph for him.
Yeah, that and 4 quarters will get you $1.
Hey, I bet you those autographs would go pretty steep on eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Anything else before we go for the week?
Curry is off this week.
Curry is off this week.
Mm-hmm. Everybody stay safe out there. Nasty weather coming.
That's right. We've had a lot of rain coming through, but hopefully we don't think there's going to be as much rain as what initially they said.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, until Friday night when you can catch us all at a different game, Brian, you'll be out on Thursday night and Friday night this week. But until then, we'll see you guys later.